Hello, my name is Joe Ernst. I am the Director of Rider Development for the PBR. Welcome to the new PBR Rider Development podcast. We are going to be starting a new series on educational pieces for bull riders. Today we're joined by Joe Frost, who is the owner and the head coach for Frost Legacy Bull Riding, and also John JRob Robinson, who is the owner and head trainer for Forging Leaders Academy. He works with us a lot on mental training. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here. Just kind of want to start talking a little bit. We've known each other. Joe, you and I have been working together for 8-9 months now, and we've done several training camps for PBR, PRCA, and some very high-level high school guys. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing in terms of teaching bull riding, the skills, the drills, how you're evolving into allowing the riders to be able to train a little bit more at home, even if they don't have a barrel or they don't have access to a bull on any given day.
Joe, bull riding, like back in the day, bull riding started, it was cowboys. Farmers, ranchers, country kids, that had ridden a horse every day and had access to livestock. They didn't do skills and drills training. It was an instinct that was developed in them. I mean, you take me, like I've been on a horse since I was 5 years old. I've been riding. Like riding is an instinct for me.
Yeah,
it's a sixth sense. And that's the way it had been for a long time. Well, guess what? Like, there's getting to be less and less rural kids, and the ones that are, they don't want to ride bulls. Too dangerous, But there are kids that do want to do it. Well, guess what? They live in town. So how does he train? How does he figure out how to ride bulls? He doesn't got the opportunity that I had. My dad built an arena out our back door, and I probably got on 10,000 head of calves, steers, cows, etc., and 10,000 hours horseback by the time I was 15, before I ever started getting on bulls. Well, okay, how do we develop that in someone who does not have access to that? That's, I guess, what's kind of took me down the path of developing all of the drills and taking a skill that was developed in me through repetition on livestock to help that kid who lives in town develop it in his garage.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time of trial and error to find out, because there's people that are using drop barrels and stuff, and it's still a long process, and I wasn't seeing results from it. And so, like, through trial and error and talking to different guys and developing, like, I'm at a point now where I have kids who have the vast majority of their repetition on a drop barrel or on the air bull, who are actually better than myself or my brothers were at any age group, whether they're 8 years old, 7 years old. They're actually further ahead skill-wise from doing the drills and building the muscle memory that we've developed for them.
Right. That's very interesting you say that. And JRob, you've worked extensively with athletes that have competed at the very highest levels and teams that are national championship caliber teams. You've also worked with the SEAL teams a little bit in terms of, their physical training and mental training. Talk a little bit about, what your experiences have been, in terms of what you've done in your career, and then the muscle memory or the brain memory and what it takes to move forward, in terms of that sort of thing.
Well, one of the principles that's consistent in both of those arenas is the value of preparation, like relentless preparation, which is both mental and physical. So we call it the mental and physical reps. The physical reps, or the mechanical reps, I always like to say what great teams do really, really great is they have the ability to break things down consistently to the basics, to a baseline, to the fundamental principles, to the truths of the skill that they're developing, and they do it consistently over and over and over and over and over again, building muscle memory, and building it in their mind, and they visualize it and they see it. so that in those moments when they ride, in those moments when they step into the battle, when it's time and it gets real, then the thinking stops and the being starts.
Yeah.
They step into that arena and then go be great. Why? Because I've done thousands of reps, I've done them correct, I've done them over and over, and not only have I done them correct, but I can see it because I have the ability to zoom out, I have the ability to have a visual of what's correct, zoom back in with extreme focus and commitment to the process, which I know we'll talk about, but the process of preparation, man. And that preparation is a principle. It's a governing power. It's part of a greater system. It has a strong gravitational pull to it. You can't avoid it. You either are bought in and you have the ability to see that and the importance of that, or on the other side, that right is, man, I'm just gonna get real reps. I'm gonna keep the arena big. The great ones know how to shrink it down and then progressively make it big again. They're always coming in and back out. And so the drills, what I witnessed was, it was incredible because not only was it true, but from an outsider watching and learning in real-time speed, I got to see it deliver consistent results every single time. And when it did, the results were so different. We call that virtuosity. Like, it was incredible, and it was like fun to watch, to see somebody progress from where they were to where they got, all because of their discipline in doing the basics like over and over and over and over again.
Yep. And we'll talk about the process that we used in this most recent training camp here in a little bit. But it's interesting you mentioned something, and I want to bring that up for both of you guys to talk a little bit about. Joe, you work a lot with your brother Josh, who was a PRCA world champion this past year. He also rides on the Oklahoma team. But you do a lot of training with him. You do a lot of training in other sports with athletes. And you mentioned a couple of times the visualization. Talk a little bit about how that works, and do you do that with Josh? And if so, how? And has it produced results? And talk a little bit about visualization with your athletes and what kind of results, or even the SEALs. Just talk a little bit about those things, the visualization and how that works and how it affects an athlete or a high-level performer.
Essentially, he talks about the mental reps, and we're talking about preparation too. But your mind doesn't know the difference, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between an imagined experience and a real one.
Yep.
It's no different than you have a bad dream. You wake up and holy shit, it's real. Mm-hmm. It feels real. You're sweating. You were dreaming that you were running, and now you wake up and your heart rate, it's happening. Well, that's your subconscious mind. Yeah. It doesn't know the difference between a real experience and an imagined one. Well, guess what? Bull riding, you can only physically get on so many bulls. But you can imagine as many as you want. Those are the most powerful reps. And bull riding, it's not like baseball, swinging the bat. Like, you can swing the bat a lot more times than you can get on bulls.
Yeah.
You can shoot the basketball because it's not dangerous. Bull riding, every time you get on, you're risking injury. So those mental reps are literally the difference. They're the separator. Yeah. Who's putting in the most mental reps? And talking about the mind, like, it has to happen in the mind first. The mind controls the body. So even just the skills and drills, like, I'm not just, to some degree mechanically, I have to help them get into the position, but until they actually get the picture in their mind, their body can't do it. Their body cannot do it until the mind knows how to tell the body to do it.
And do you think the guys in the past have kind of gone through that, even not knowing they were doing it?
I know that they did.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back down to, I talk about riding a horse. Well, I was off balance when I started, and I would slow the horse up and readjust and then go again. And just through trial and error and just repetition, like, you just learn how to ride something and it becomes an instinct.
Yeah.
And you start imagining it and what that feels like. And so, they go through the process whether they knew they did or not. Anybody who became successful at riding bulls has went through that process, whether it was intentional or they knew what they were doing or not.
And now we're just making it intentional.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
but here's the cool thing is that what you just did was you gave a great visual of what success would look like through visualization. Like you put that out, but there's the other side of that. And the other side of that is disbelief, and that I visualize myself
Yeah.
getting bucked off again. I visualize myself not good enough. I visualize myself not worthy enough. I visualize myself doubting myself all the time. I've had an injury. Can I come back from it? Let's go this way. I have relationships and I have life outside of bull riding that has probably more of a gravitational pull than the actual pull of the sport in the sport. I have all these other things out in life that are tugging at me in my mental space that I have to find a place to win. So it's more, yes, is it on the bull, but it has to start at a deeper level. You have to visualize who you yourself are as a person. Like, who's your identity? What's your purpose? Like, dude, I believe God has a great purpose and plan for my life. Like, I know who I am. I'm a winner. I'm a champion. Why? Because I've won my entire life. Why? Because my preparation has been relentless. It was part of my culture and in my environment. I didn't have another option. I had a choice. That choice was to be great, and that was stated right up front. But I had a desire and a competitive spirit in me that wanted to do that. But I didn't mean that I didn't doubt. It didn't mean that I didn't, one of the toughest things that I had to work through, it was my sophomore year when I played football at Tech and I blew my ACL. The last series of the spring game, one of my defensive linemen came behind me in the option and just ran me over as I planted to drive up to make the hit. And that was it, man. I mean, you talk about pressure and stress and being in a negative mental space when an athlete's hurt, right? So, well, all I could visualize them forward was, dude, I'm not playing. What's it gonna look like me coming back? I got 8 other dudes who are as good as me that are waiting for my spot and position on the team.
Yeah.
They just got to move up a jersey. And then guess what, and where your mind will go with that if I don't have some visual for myself. And that's this. Well, there's a recruiting class coming up next year with 5 new linebackers coming up. So now I've got somebody, now I'm even further because I got to go back to the bottom of the line.
Yeah.
Now I could have chose, if that I believe that what I saw to be true, man, I would have stayed in the back. But I chose not to believe that and to visualize myself coming back a bigger, stronger, faster athlete. And as a result of that, my preparation was in alignment, and that's exactly what happened.
And it's interesting you bring up injury and the thought process an athlete goes throughout the injury. Because, I mean, in bull riding, I mean, it's just been my experience, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because you've ridden at the very highest of levels. You could get on a bull, make a 92-point ride, have the perfect dismount, land on your feet, and I still watch these guys limp out of the arena. So, I mean, even the picture perfect ride sometimes can end in maybe not being injured, but being hurt.
Yeah, a lot of that, and what you're seeing, a lot of that's from yesterday's ride.
That's fair.
And I mean, it's just inherently dangerous. I mean, you can do everything correct, and just the physical toll it takes on you beats on the body.
Yeah.
And it is something, and you don't got to ride bulls for very long to get the opportunity to deal with injury.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about this, we was at the IMBA finals last week, and I had a kid there that ended up, he finished third. He rode 3 out of 4 bulls in the senior mini bull riding division, and he a year ago he broke his leg twice back to back, and I remember him crying after the second time. He's a 13-year-old kid. He's like, my IMB, the world finals is over. I'm not, it's gone. It's down the train. And I'm like, yeah, probably your leg's busted in half, but they're doing it again next year, you know. And then I reminded him of that after he had a lot of growth in the last year after coming back from his injury, and then got to experience success. But he worked hard to come back, and he had to get over it. That was his 4th injury in a row. Broke his leg, come back, broke his leg, boom, come back, break his arm, boom, come back, break his ankle. That just happened in January. Mm-hmm. He had to get over that visual of every time I come back, another injury. And because of that, he was literally drawing them to him.
Yeah, and that just shows the power of positive imagery, and I think you were probably going there, JRob.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's also tied back to what you believe to be true, what your beliefs are, right? And we know your beliefs are formed from an early age, almost up until 9, and then from 9 to 18, then there's another shift in development, and then from 18 to 25, there's another shift in development. But we know a lot of that, it's based on experiences, it's based on culture, it's based on your family's beliefs, it's based on, community. I mean, it could be based on location, demographics. Like, there's all these things that shape our beliefs. And so as we go through those stages and as we have more life experiences, those beliefs can shift a little bit. They can strengthen, they can weaken. But our ability to see the potential that we have and what's in front of us is so directly connected and tied to what you believe to be about yourself. Well, if my beliefs weren't so rooted and strong, then I would have responded different to the injury that I faced. Therefore, my behavior and what, like my coaches and other players, what they experienced of me would have been different. It would have been below the line. It would have been a victim mentality, man. Yep. Woe is me, poor is me. I would have put all my focus on all the things and all the barriers that I had to overcome versus, hey man, what's the next best thing that I can do? What's the next step? Let me regroup. Let me reframe my perspective, and then let me refocus my energy and then restart, step up and move forward.
Yep, and that brings me into something that you guys are both using pretty extensively, is the R system that you have in place. Talk a little bit about that. Walk us through each of those stages with all the different R's.
E plus R equals O, and that's an event, which we're experiencing one right now. Any moment in time, any event plus your response equals the outcome. It could just be a bull ride. Oh, it's one jump of each bull ride. It's your moments in the locker room. It's time spent in relationships, whatever. E plus R equals O. If you don't like your O, adjust your R. You don't have control over the E, the event, for the most part. You get to choose which ones you participate in, but that's an R, okay? So the R's, the 6 R's, are the process you go through to making choices. First is recognize. Recognize, for me, is the belief. Who do you believe? What do you believe is true about yourself, and who do you want to become? Who you want to become is when you recognize whether or not, okay, how I respond here. Which path am I going? Who I want to become, or what's easy? Then, so you recognize, push pause, take a deep breath, then regroup. Regroup is self-talk, your belief system. I'm strong. I'm ready.
Yeah, get your mind right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And for you guys at home, you should be writing down these 6 R's because they're very important to your development.
Yeah, and it's that belief in self, what you believe about yourself, what you need to believe about yourself. Then reframe. That's the situation. That's the opposite of being a victim. You take ownership. There's my opportunity. I wanted this. I'm ready for this. I can do this. I got this. That's your self-talk that's associated with reframe.
Yeah.
This is my moment. This pressure is for me. It's for my growth. Mm-hmm. It's happening for you, not to you. And then, so reframe, then refocus. Well, refocus is micro goals. One step at a time, one jump at a time, one decision at a time. When you break it down to the basics, what's required of me right now? What do I need to do in this moment to get the outcome that I want? Then you just restart. You step up again with commitment and conviction, and at that point you're clear-minded. You've went through the first 4 steps, and now you're ready to go again. That's with and create a result that's in alignment with who you want to become. Mm-hmm. And then after, we reflect, and that's building skill for future events, because then you start recognizing sooner. And you can make adjustments to your process for your next E.
It's interesting you guys talk about this, and that kind of takes me back probably a good decade or maybe almost two to when I was coaching college lacrosse, and I would talk to these guys about positive self-talk and actually verbalizing. And it's kind of funny because I remember, big line of sinks in the locker room, and they got a mirror over every sink, and you'd have all these big 6'4", 210-pound, NCAA lacrosse players looking in the mirror, looking at themselves, talking to themselves in a positive light. And I think that will help bull riders as well, being able to have that kind of communication with themselves. It seems corny, but it works.
But you know why people don't do it, man?
Because it seems corny.
I think it's a deeper. I think people don't do it because they can't look at themselves and actually believe what they see as potential. Like, it's hard for someone to look at themselves and have that conversation. I mean, you're talking about a level of depth in ownership and taking responsibility and vulnerability within self to really take complete ownership of your personal narrative, like your beliefs, your narrative, the story, the way you're interpreting it, the meaning you give it, and then the decision you make to live that out. And so here's what is productive here's why those R's are productive, is because they're based on truth.
Yeah, and I think that it's just human nature to look at the negatives about yourself, because what you want to do is fix the things that are wrong rather than enhance the things that are right. And that's the area. The correct things is the area we should be talking on.
And that's the gravitational pull we all face. I could do 9 or 10 or 9 things incredible, and I can screw up on one thing. And my natural default is I'm going to think about the one thing.
Yep.
And that one thing is going to eat at me. Versus the 9 things that I did that were incredibly productive, moving me towards my dream and my vision and my purpose and my plan and who I am. And so that is, all of us face that same thing. It's part of the fleshly side of us that, if kept unchecked, can potentially wreck us and derail us from our purpose and our plan. And so going back to the 6 R's is that, 1, they're measurable. They're consistent, and they can be applied in any environment, in any situation, and they present to you the same truth. Why? Because it is based on the systems that govern how we reach our full potential, that get us to where we need to be, and be able to do that with excellence, man, and confidence.
Oh, and the biggest thing that's came to light for me is the 8 seconds you spend in the arena, if you make the full ride. But those choices that you make in the heat of the moment, under pressure, they're the same choices that you're making all day long in slow motion, if you will, because in 8 seconds things happen fast.
Right.
Well, if you're choosing to check out, or you're unsure, or you're not making a decision, the best thing to do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. The only thing that sucks is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that can be applied to, okay, what kind of decisions are you making all day long? How are you handling yourself at school? How are you handling yourself in your relationships, at your job, in the gym, whatever? You can apply it to anything. Well, guess what? You're going to make those same decisions when the gate opens.
Because what we do in one thing, man, we will do in all things. And that was a huge takeaway when my time working with just fortunate to have that time with a group of SEALs, is that it was attention to detail. Like, it was, here's our standard operating procedures, they're for a reason. And we're going to do these things consistently all the time with accountability, and they're non-negotiable. It gets much bigger when you start applying these things. Your life gets much bigger and clearer when you're able to take these tools and apply them to the whole of your life in all areas.
Right.
Because then I develop these disciplines in everything I do. So when I go to compete and it's time for me to step in the arena, well, see, I've already been winning in the rest of my day and the rest of my life, because I'm already doing these things consistently in every aspect of what I do.
Yeah.
And it has to be that, because for any athlete or any person to say that I can reach my potential and I can step in that arena and I can blur out all the other noise of my life and the negativity and the frustration and the friction and the pain and discomfort, and I can go be great in this one moment and do it consistent, they're lying to themselves. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. The great ones understand it. The great ones understand that it requires them to be great in all things, because that was the other thing is that we always checked in, and it was before any mission or task, it was, dude, are you good? Are you good? Because if you're not, let's get squared away. Because if you're not good, the cost to one of these guys is it's death, like it's their life, right? I mean, it's the extreme.
And so the same could be said for bull riding.
Same for, absolutely. So there's the truth in that is that, man, you have to be squared away. If I'm not squared away in my marriage and I'm not squared away in my other relationships, then I'm not squared away in the training facility. Why? Because I have all this tension over here that's distracting my mind. And maybe there's the 1%, maybe there's someone that doesn't really give a shit, and they can say, well, I don't really care about all this, so it doesn't matter to me, and I'm gonna be one-dimensional and super, which is selfish, which that person is gonna have a lot of pain and face a lot of unnecessary pain and discomfort as an athlete, right? Anyways, so what the big picture, man, is we're talking about the holistic development of the whole person, the whole rider, to operate at a very elite high level.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say about that holistic, because that's kind of where myself and you guys, and there's a couple other people out there that are kind of figuring this all out, that there are some better ways that we can go about this in terms of, okay, yes, we need to be on bulls and we need to be on bulls consistently, but yes, we also need to physically train our bodies in terms of getting in the weight room and doing things that you may not think a cowboy or a bull rider would do, like yoga for mobility. There's stuff like for the professional bull riders that are out there working on how do they use their social media in such a way that they can get a better chance of getting endorsement agreements. There's stuff like talking about financial planning with these guys so that they don't, win a $40,000 check one week and next week they got $100 in the bank. All of these things kind of come full circle and then hit home with this mental side of the training that we're really talking about today, in terms of it has to be the whole piece. You can't just get on bulls. You can't just do drop barrel. You can't just work out physically.
And you can't just do social media.
Right.
And you can't just look for endorsements.
Yep.
And I think it comes right back to the place of your identity. Who you are and who you believe yourself to be drives your choices in every one of those areas.
Yes, sir.
That is correct.
And I mean, they talk about that, character isn't built when it's easy. Character is built when it's difficult and you're doing new things that seem off.
Everybody,
the yoga.
Everybody will do it when it's easy
Yep.
and it feels good and when the crowd's doing it.
Yep. It's the times when it's difficult or feeling like you're wonky because I'm a cowboy and I've been a ranch hand and I'm a bull rider and I'm tough, but I'm doing yoga. It seems weird, but it's one of those things that's kind of imperative to getting these guys to be, on that final world championship weekend. You just can't do one or two. You got to do the whole deal. Let's talk a little bit. Let's kind of jump back or forward, as it will. We have done 2 Frost Legacy PBR academies. We're now moving them into what we're calling a training camp as opposed to an academy. Talk a little bit about the differences from our first one together, which was last April?
It was in April this year.
And then we just had one in August, and this was the first time that we really incorporated Coach JRob and his Crucible. Talk a little bit about the Crucible and why the Crucible. We'll get into all that, but talk about the differences between that first one and that second one that we saw.
So I got to back it up just a little bit. I met Coach JRob when I was on the last Cowboy Standing.
Correct.
We took them guys in there, and for 2 hours, man.
Which was fun, man. That was a great experience.
It was.
And those guys did a great job. Like
and they're
really
doing
did.
and
It was
they're
even
doing
fun to
well
watch
now.
on TV. I watched that episode.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But the powerful thing for me is myself and J.W. Harris. I mean, we'd been working with these guys for 4 or 5 weeks, and due to our inexperience or lack of communication, whatever you want to call it, we watched him take them for 2 hours and seriously break through some barriers that we were just banging our head against the wall over, and we were trying for all we were worth. And what I seen there just opened my mind and opened my eyes to like, oh my gosh, I can do better, you know. But I need some of these tools. And so anyway, I started working to implement some of this, and so we did that in April, and what we were running in April would have been considered a school. I was an instructor. I taught for 3 days. I lectured for 3 days. And now granted, that's a lot of what my experience had been going to other bull riding schools throughout my life. And you know, it was a clinic, it was a demonstration type situation where I'm the teacher. Well, what it's transformed into now is I'm a coach, coaching athletes. Yes, there's a part of instruction and teaching, but then it is reps. Like, yeah, I know it, but I want you to, can you not only know it, but do it, and then do it in live action. And one of our first conversations was asking about how much of it is mental versus physical. Well, I said, well, I think it's 100% physical until you get the skill, and then it's 100% mental. And
I know where this is
I didn't
going.
even know how backwards that was, but he's like, I don't believe that. It's like, it's all mental. Like, I actually have to have the person ready to receive the information, and then I'm still coaching their mind, because their mind controls their body to do the skill. And then it becomes even more important that their mind is in control, because now we apply pressure. Now can you focus and eliminate all of that pressure and just do the basic skill? Well, yeah, you know what? That's true. In fact, it made me start thinking about all of the conversations that I've had trying to teach somebody how to do the skill. Well, it always led to me helping them get a picture in their mind so they could do the skill. And so it is. It's the mind controls the body. Yes, it's about the skill, but we have to coach the mind, coach the person. So, you know, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the Crucible, but I started implementing them at several of my camps before you came, to the best of my ability. But what I experienced was, we spent the first hour preparing their minds, and that accelerated the learning process. Like, they were ready to receive information and ready to train, and the results were, I mean, it was astounding. And that was my inexperienced amateur effort at a Crucible.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, having someone who does this regularly, we were going to experience completely different results.
All right, JRob, talk to us a little bit about, you know, what Joe was talking about with the Crucibles and getting the mind ready to receive the information that he's going to teach them about bull riding. Talk about your process. And you came in, you know, what, 2-3 weeks ago, we had the second one, and it was night and day. I mean, the performance of the bull riders in the drills and then on the live animals was completely night and day. And I don't think the skill level was all that different. We just did a different process. Talk about the Crucible and what you do and how you get these skills.
I was exposed to the Crucible back in 2015 when I made a personal choice to, you know, like, embrace this self-mastery journey that I was on, and really discovering as much as I could about the depth of myself. And another guy I played football with at Tech had a great idea. That he said, hey, there's this organization called SEALFIT, and it's led by a bunch of Navy SEALs, and man, we can pay a lot of money to go through 50 hours of Hell Week of BUD/S, and it's going to be just like it, man. Are you in? And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Okay, so that started the journey. And then when I went through that experience for my own personal growth, the crucible is the duration of the event, but in that there's a breakout. There are many breakouts, which is what I implement as a tool to create an accelerated learning experience. And so in that typically is going to be a very high intensity evolution with controlled chaos and high levels of stress, right? And so when we're able to do that, we're able to start to break down each individual and the barriers that they have within themselves, like their limiting belief factors, right? Because they can't run from anymore, because here's the great thing is that they're all experiencing some level of pain and discomfort. I mean, that is part of that, is to get them to a place that they've never been able to take themselves before. Yeah. And that process is to break them down, to show them more of who they are within themselves, their beliefs, their limiting beliefs, how they view the world they live in. It's also a separator. Like, it will show you those that have the ability to rise under pressure, and it can also show you those that maybe haven't developed the ability to, or are choosing not to. They are choosing to feel sorry for themselves in the midst of pain and discomfort, or there are those that see that out of this there comes growth, right? I'm seeing this about myself. I choose to embrace this with some mental toughness and some resiliency, and whatever it is that comes my way, or the pain that I endure, I will not quit. Like, quitting is not an option to me. So it's through the crucible that you start to break down those barriers and break down an individual, and then slowly you start building those individuals back up, and you build that up by helping them find wins. So we intentionally create an environment where they fail. We fail them on purpose. Yeah. Right? So one, that they understand that failure is inevitable, like failure is okay, and failure leads to growth. But can you see it that way in the midst of being under a lot of discomfort and pressure and chaos and stress? And then do you have the ability to refocus? Do you have the ability to adapt, to make an adjustment and move forward with a positive mindset? And so it is the accelerant. I've never experienced anything in my own life, and I've never seen anything that accelerates one's growth and knowledge of within themselves like it does. And so because of that, man, then it accelerates everything else that comes with it. It accelerates the skill. Because now we're dealing, again, I'll go back to, now we're dealing with truths with each person. And so as the days develop, well, they're developing their mental game too. Well, now those principles and those factors are now still being integrated throughout the entirety of the evolution of the camp or the academy. So again, it goes back to, they're getting consistency in the same thing, and it's really about helping them how to redirect. It's in those crucibles, like what dog are you feeding, man? Are you feeding the dog of courage or the dog of fear? Like, again, that visual, but they have to make that choice to embrace in those moments where pain and discomfort is, you cannot escape it, man, and you have to deal with the reality that you're in. And our job is to show them that it's not going away, man. The pains of life aren't going anywhere. So just accept it, know that it's present, and then figure out a way to make it work for you. Embrace that pain and discomfort and let it work to your favor, man. Yeah. And when you get to that place, that's when you can do 20 times more than you think you can. It doesn't matter, right? Like you see through a different lens. And so,
well, we got to experience it as coaches. They was doing burpees you guys were doing burpees at the end of the day. We had a short meeting, so we missed the first 20 or 30. Well, we get over there.
Are you talking about the
redirect?
You're talking about the hands on the hips?
At the end of the day.
The 200 burpees that they owed us?
We get out there, and you're doing them with them.
And we're all
here we go, boys. I guess we're in.
Got to do it.
So we step in there.
You know, that's the only reason why I did them, because I knew you guys would have to get in there.
Yeah,
And go.
we get in there, and I mean, man, I was really excited about it. First 20, 30. Well, then I start experiencing the desire to quit. Like, my mind's saying, oh, you know what, you probably better go get the tractor and start getting things ready for the guys to take a shower, and oh gosh, you know, you're not in shape for this. Like, it just kept coming. And now, you wouldn't have known really watching me, but like, I'm looking for a way out. And then it come down to the picture of me walking away while everybody was still going, and that, like, I know that's not me. Like, I'm not a quitter. I won't do it. Like, that won't be me. Well, as soon as that, bam, I start the 6Rs, go through that, well, pretty quick. I start gaining energy when I'm more tired at the end of it, and I was down to, I had refocused micro goals. I was doing one step at a time.
All you gotta do is win one at a time, man.
And
in that same place, like, I was having the same experience. Like, man, I have done thousands and thousands and thousands of burpees, like, and they don't get easy. It's not like I'm not experiencing, but it's the ability to redirect my negative mind back to a positive state.
Yeah.
And remind myself, dude, that quitting is an option. So, but all I have to do is win the next rep. That's it. All I gotta do is win one ride. All I have to do is win this rep on the barrel. All I have to do is win this workout. Like, it goes back to teaching them about being present, about being intentional, purposeful, and skillful in everything that they do. And that's a hard path to choose, because it is the path that's least traveled. It is the path that there's a cost for that path. That's the choice, right? There's a price that has to be paid for success, man. And each will be willing to make that choice on how much cost they're willing to endure to achieve the dream or their potential. And we help them see that in that really fun time for them when they're suffering.
That was really interesting to me too, is to watch that, and for me to make that mental shift. I mean, I was a high-level athlete back in my day, but I mean, we got 20 bull riders that are all, I don't know, 17 to 25 maybe was the oldest, and then we've got a bunch of 30-something guys, and we got some guys that are in really good shape, and then you got 56-year-old me, way out of shape,
and
sitting
Coach
there
Clow,
wheezing.
Yeah.
As I'm doing them,
60.
it's like, God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. But yep, I had the same thought. If I get up and walk away, what is that going to teach these guys?
Yeah, and a big part of what we're committed to is servant leadership. I mean, it's leading by example. Like, one thing in my life that I've always said is that I will never ask of someone to do what I'm unwilling to do myself. That's a strong belief I have.
Yeah.
Because I don't see myself being the other way, but it just doesn't represent, I wouldn't want to feel that way either. So it teaches them, it gives them a great visualization of the entirety of the process and how it works together. The matrix in which they must see and learn. But the great thing is, if they'll buy into it, man, the upside to that is them reaching their full potential. You know, we talk about the potential pathway, right? This was something we talked a lot about at the academy. And that potential pathway looks like this. So I have potential, I have reality, right? In the middle of that, I have commitment. The bridge that goes from potential to commitment is declaration and belief and identity. It is what it is. It is true. And that is, what do I believe about myself? And then what am I declaring? Who am I declaring that I have the potential to be? And that looks like this. Today is the day. Well, what does today is the day mean, man? Today is the day means today is the day is I'm going to be great. No matter what adversity or circumstances that come into my life, today I choose to win. Today I choose to better myself. Today I choose to be the 1%. Today I'm going to have a breakthrough at practice. Like, today I'm going to be better than yesterday. Today I'm going to recorrect. Today I'm going to have a better conversation. I'm going to have a better workout. Whatever that is, but today is the day, man. Yep. And we say that because that sets the tone for what we believe, that sets the tone for our day. And so It is embracing this idea that my belief will determine the health and trajectory and the width and depth of my potential. And so to go from commitment to reality, well, that's grit.
Yep.
That's what will be required of you, right? And so grit is growth, right? Resiliency, increasing capacity, and time.
And it's interesting you talk about that. You sent me that podcast of the gentleman doing the sermon about today is the day. And I mean, you can fail 5,000 days in a row, but today you have to believe is the day that you're going to accomplish whatever task it is. Whether it's making a 90-point ride, or it's riding the barrel perfectly, or it's getting into the physical training, and doing it as hard as you can, even if you don't feel like it. You always have to believe that today is the day that you're going to accomplish whatever you're set out to accomplish.
And that's just reframe. You get to reframe the day.
Yep.
So every day you get to pick the frame, your perspective.
New opportunity, man.
Indeed. So real quickly, talk a little bit about how the Crucible, what the Crucible is, about the actual mechanics of the Crucible, what you did to these kids or had them do.
So day one, of course, man, we start them off early.
It went like 3 hours,
yeah.
I think.
So, the time was 3 hours, and in that, you're running them through different levels of experiences with different time domains and controlled chaos, and that may look like attention to detail. I gave them a task. That task is this. You have 2 pieces of tape. You have 2 magic markers. There they are. Here's the instructions. Everybody needs to have their first name on the front and back of their shirt, and it needs to be legible for all of the coaches, and it should be consistent. How long is it going to take you to get done? Okay, 10 minutes. Well, you have 5. 3, 2, 1, go. Right? And then you give them that. Now, because of that task, because of the time, with that simple, we just created pressure. Right? Something very basic.
It should be a task they could easily accomplish.
But what we get to see is we get to see a lot of chaos, man, right? Everybody wants to step in and lead. You got too many people talking. It's just a total disarray of what's going on, or they're cutting corners right in their name, right? Or they don't even listen to the instructions. And so they go back, they get in their rows and columns, we do an inspection on them, and we got someone who's different. So now we got another problem. Why are you different? Why did you choose to be different than everybody else? Did you not hear the instructions? They were pretty simple. So guess what? We do it 2 ways, man. We do it right or we do it again. There's a fail. So now we pay the man. Now go do it again. So go take a couple laps, and now we're going to do it again. So do it again, right? And we keep doing it until they get it right. And when they get it right, we've created a win.
Yeah.
That's a small win, right? And so as we move in, then we start slowly picking up the intensity, right? And we start adding a little more pressure. That can be by my tone, my manner. It could be by the pace I'm asking them to do something. But I mean, it's not like from the outside looking in. If you watch it, it's push-ups, jumping jacks, flutter kicks.
It's not like they're lifting heavy.
No, it's all body weight. It's all calisthenics.
Yep.
Running, bear crawling, army crawling. I mean, there's so many different ways that you could execute the evolution. You have the dirt, you have the arena. That's uncomfortable, right? And in their mind, it's what's happening is so much bigger than the reality of what's really happening. And so that's what's cool about that, is that you can show them over time that what their perception is of what's going on really isn't the reality of what they're experiencing.
2 things: learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which being on a bull, I mean, I know these guys love doing what they do, but it's uncomfortable. It's an animal that weighs 10 times as much as you. It does not have a logical process. It is just looking to get you off its back any way it possibly can. And then the other part to that is pretty simple. Little wins create big wins. And as they figure out, all right, well, I got to make sure every name is capitalized, or however they messed up in that first evolution, they learn, all right, now the second time they did it, they went through, and I think the second time they did it right in this particular
It was
case.
correct. Everybody was correct.
And they're like, and everybody was like, hell yeah, we got it done. And it was very interesting to see that through this pain and discomfort and the yelling, and I mean, it looked like you were, just about to do sugar cookies on the beach with a bunch of seals. I mean, yelling and screaming and direction, they found these victories. And then that kind of leads me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Joe, talk a little bit about when Coach Rob put them through this, what was the difference you saw in this academy in terms of the drills and the skills and the attention and getting it correct on the barrels that you had or had not seen in previous evolutions of the training camp?
What we've done as far as breaking down the mechanics of bull riding, it's down to five simple things, and we're talking biomechanics. Well, we give them instructions for the drills. Do this, hold this position, whatever. Well, they all come in with all of these habits, and I call it victim to habit. You're going to be a victim to habit. All I'm telling you to do is bend your knee. Duh, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you've ever done it before. Just do it. This is what you paid for. Well, like, that is usually the first day, usually even the second day, like, that is it, the headache of like, why did you sign up for this if you don't want to learn? Mm-hmm. Well, once they go through the crucible, we've broken down and stripped them down to what they believe about themselves, then rebuilt that back up to where they're out of their comfort zone. They're ready to learn. They're open and ready to learn, and they're going into it with a clear mind. I can teach them. It's literally like, you give me a blank canvas.
Mm-hmm.
After running through the crucible, now all of a sudden, where in previous training camps, that bending the knee and drawing and mashing was a chore to get them to do, now they just do it.
They just do the same old thing they've always done, and is that it? No, that's not it. They just couldn't listen. I mean, you do the feet belly back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, to me, like, that's it right there. Land on your back, land on your belly, on your feet, on your belly, on your back. That's it. That's what I'm doing on the. I just need you to just follow simple instructions. It's going to be mechanical for a minute. As soon as you feel it, light bulb comes on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see why I've been struggling. Mm-hmm. It's that simple.
Yeah. So you'd say that running through these exercises and running through the crucible and the breaking down, the building up, the gaining self-confidence, the realizing that it's okay to be uncomfortable and do different things, has that helped your students accelerate their learning curve?
It accelerates it like, generally I have 15 to 20 riders, and prior to implementing the crucibles and the real mental training aspect of this, I would say 2 out of 20, so 10% of the riders like really grasped onto the new information and were able to really execute it and like take it away. Everyone to some degree at least tried it.
Yeah.
It's now the opposite. 1 or 2 struggling. The rest of them are like primed and ready, where we don't have to, there's no argument, there's no confusion. We're giving very simple instructions. Now they can follow them, and they love it. They're like, okay, this is simple. And it's not easy, but it's simple. I can do this. And then that gives us more capacity to help that 1 or 2 that's struggling to understand or whatever. And a lot of times that guy needs to go for a run.
Yeah.
You take a lap down there and come back. Well, by the time he comes back, he's clear, and he can, there's...
So what a great, here's what's cool about that, right? Which was what it was leading into, and so all of that, and what the crucible is, it creates an environment that but teaches them to learn to be great at refocusing, Like, that teaches someone how to focus, hyper focus right now in this moment on one thing. What's the last thing I was told to do? What is in front of me? And that's all I have to do. And once I've done that, I move on to the next thing. And so it really starts to eliminate that distraction and your mind wandering, right? We callous that part of the mind, and then we start rebuilding that mind and teaching them one of the most important, powerful components, and that is focus, because what we focus our energy on is where we will go, right? Henry Ford, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, that will be the story of your life, man.
Yep.
Well, what you focus your thoughts and your energy on, that is what you are going to play out. You are going to live that out. Yep. And so what you see is how that transfers to that is now we see these guys going through these drills, and now they're extremely super hyper focused. They're focused on what they're being asked to do and then do it correctly.
Well, and something that I've experienced in the past is, well, it's going to take you about a month of training this for you to figure it out, for you to develop a new habit. Well, now the difference is they get to start right now. They get to start building that new habit right now, because you've stripped down you've stripped away all of the garbage, and what's left is just a person that's ready to operate at a new level.
They're a canvas, man. They're ready for them to start painting a new view or portrait of themselves, right? And so, man, it's powerful to see from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, and for me to get to see that process unfold. And even over the 3 days, the crucible time part of it got shorter and shorter because less was required. Because when they showed up at each day, right, they were already dialed in. They were already falling in line. They already had set a personal standard for themselves on how they were going to operate that day. And the other component that we got to see, and I think you guys got to witness, which is cool, which one of you, I would love to get your view of that, and that is, not only did transformation happen at the individual level, but what was the greatest thing and what I love to see is it happened collectively with every person that was there.
Yep, even the coaching staff.
Even the coaching staff.
And we're getting close to the end of our time. I think we're definitely going to have to do this again and get into a little more of the team aspect that we didn't get to this time, which was incredibly powerful for me. Joe, as a guy that has ridden bulls at the very highest of levels, and you work with guys like your brother who's a world champion, do you feel that bull riders need to work on the mental aspect of their game in a methodical way, like a crucible?
Only if they want to get better.
That is a great way to put it.
You know, that's, and Coach JRob and I talk about this all the time, but like the process that we have, I didn't know this in my career, but it's so easy for me to look back and see when I overcame challenges, this is the process I finally came to. You know, these are the things, this was the process that I went through to get back on track every time. Mm-hmm. And it
works.
It works every time.
Good deal. Why don't you both just tell where people can find you, your socials or your websites, etc. I know Joe and I have worked extensively together. Anybody that is interested in bull riding, whether you're brand new or you're anybody even in the PBR or PRCA, this is one of the guys, if not the guy to go to. And I know from a physical standpoint and a mental training aspect, JRob is 100% the guy to go to. So why don't you guys tell the people out there where they can find you, and then we'll go from there.
FrostLegacy.com to sign up for the online training course or in-person training camps, and you can follow me Facebook, Joe Frost, or Instagram, official Joe Frost.
Yeah, mine's John at jrobs.com is a great way to get me, and then my Insta is coach_JRob1 or JRob's Performance Training.
Good deal, good deal. And please drop any comments or questions you have down below. I will put a synopsis of some of this stuff, the 6 R's and the E plus R equals O. Yep. And absolutely any questions you have, feel free. If you would like to reach out to me at PBR, you can reach me at rider.devgrp at pbr.com. Thanks very much for watching, and we look forward to you watching some of the new rider development podcasts we have coming up in the future. Thanks very much.